If you're from Chicago, you know about Chicago dogs. Not just Chicago pizza. Chicago dogs.
Hot dogs in Chicago, they're called Viennas. Because that's the only brand of hot dog anybody will eat.
and there's a special way of making it, and in Luety, you buy the whole package back in Chicago.
I haven't shipped out from Chicago, from the factory.
And so it's the real deal.
What are you talking about, trombones or what?
No. Hey, you come on back again? I told you to leave me alone, and before you know it, we had some other stuff going on. This is music in Missoula, not Montana, but Missoula is in Montana. So yes, indeed, we were both right, huh, Scott? We're back now with the Montana Trombone Chorale. Or do you say choral? Because of a spelling limit. Anyway, we have a group of trombone players that maybe you know about, but I bet you don't. And I've got the leader of that group in here with us today and a rehearsal. So in between us talking and finding out about the group and about Fred, you'll hear some of the rehearsal that we had. So I'm here with Fred. I'm here with Fred Luety, an old friend and the poobah of the Montana Trombone Chorale. I called the chorale? Chorale, all right. It just means a group of trombone players, and it's been a while since we played in public. Well, it's been a while since anything's happened in public, since the COVID, but we're starting to crawl our way out. But we're not necessarily a public gig. We, trombone players, they're a strange group, and we get together just for fun and make music. And my guest is Fred Luety. Say hi, Fred.
Hi. and talk about strange people. Gary is a member of our group, so that proves it's strange.
See, and that's why I'm connected to this, is because I also play in a group. I'm not in charge of it, but I do play in the group, and I have for years. And speaking of years, Fred, what was the first gig? What and how and why did the Montana Trombone Chorale originate? I don't know.
Well, first of all, I'd like to qualify. I manage the organization, lining up gigs, etc., and I keep the library, and I've purchased the library. But I'm not the leader. We don't really have a leader. The group as a whole, there's 8 of us, and 6 to 8 of us all the time, and everybody takes turns kind of directing and helping out on the music and deciding what we're going to play, how we're going to play it, etc. But I'm anything but the poobah.
Oh, I didn't say the director, because that has got. So Fred does all the management aspect of it, and then many of us share musical direction, things like that. Not that he's not a decent musician, but he's not a great musician. Oh, Fred. So what about the first gig?
Okay.
Man? Why?
Well, back in 1989. Over the Christmas holidays, my son was home from Northwestern University with a junior bass trombone performance major. And while he was home, I decided it'd be nice if we get some bones up at our house. I had a small little library of trombone ensemble music.
Why did you have that?
I just accumulated over the years.
But you hadn't done a trombone, even a rehearsal of besides.
Not really.
No.
Not really.
Right.
And so I got 6 bone players together. First of all, there was my son, and there was Gary.
I was at the first one?
Yes, you were. And you brought up another player, Tim Alford.
Aston.
Tim Aston. Yes.
Okay.
Tim Aston, that's right.
We were teachers together.
And George Black was my neighbor at the time.
Okay.
And myself, and then there was this lady who I had done just that past fall. I got really back on the trombone and had done the music band with MCT. And
it was a damn date that I was having to chaperone, huh?
And so it was her first time up at the house to be part of our group. and we got together and we played for a couple hours. And by the way, that lady eventually, who is the leader and who is the principal, first player part of our trombone chorale. 2 years later, she became my wife, Tommy Kent.
Well, he locked it. He put her downstairs with chains and locked. No.
So that's how we formed the group. And then a couple years later, we just got together a few times, and then we did a couple Christmas gigs in the mall.
I remember that.
And from that, we kind of progressed forward and did a little more gigging here and there. We participated in a Christmas program over MCT one time, and from there we ended up eventually we got a little more advanced, and we actually ended up doing the St. Timothy festival up at Georgetown Lake.
Okay. And you must have known somebody.
Progressed. Pardon?
Did you know somebody at St. Timothy's?
Well, yes and no. I knew somebody who was involved at the time. She was a retired music teacher over in Gillett. She happened to be a client of mine.
Okay, there we go. So, Fred, tell us about yourself. He's a trombone player.
Well, I was very fortunate. I've been playing trombone on my 71st year of playing trombone. I started in September of 1952.
I'm not that old. I'm not 71.
And 1952. And the reason I took up a trombone was my friend George Jefferson was going to play trombone, and I was going to play with George.
Okay.
He mostly hasn't played trombone in 60+ years. But
And the town that you
Franklin Park, suburb of Chicago.
Chicago. So that's why Luety and I, we have some similarities because we're both dirty Midwestern industrial towns that chose to move out west. And we share some of the same lingo besides tromboning.
And from there, I got in high school. My high school band director was also my trombone teacher. He taught at National Music Camp, Interlochen National Music Camp, trombone from 46 to 73 when he passed away. And he taught some of the greatest trombone players in the mid-century. And I was just a fortunate one of his students. I was not really great compared to some of his other trombone players. One of them was the principal of Philadelphia from 54 through 81, Henry Charles Smith III.
Yeah.
His son was the principal with the Miami Symphony in the early 70s before they folded financially. In fact, he had to go from Oberlin over to the University of Miami for his senior year. And from there, I joined the Air Force Band shortly out of high school. I had to audition for it, and actually I failed the first audition. He had to come back 6 weeks later for the second audition, but I was only 19 at the time, and when I got in, a good portion of the bands, they only have a limited number of bands, a good portion of the bands were, players were all college degrees, so I was real fortunate to get in.
What year was that?
That was in 62.
So,
in fact,
after Korean War.
I was in between the wars.
Oh, you
62
lucky
to
dog.
66.
Okay.
And
a good time to join up in service.
And I was,
and you fought, I love your line.
I did. I was there for about for a year and a half. The Air Force they have 4 major bands in the States besides the DC band, and they have about 10 smaller bands. And I was assigned to one of the 4 major command bands, a 45-piece band. And we had a big band besides that. And after about a year and 3/4, I went over to Germany. At the time, the Air Force had 4 bands in Europe. They had the Wiesbaden band, directed by then Major Gabriel.
Gabriel, yeah.
And I worked with him a couple of times. And there was 2 small bands, one in Madrid and one in London, 20-piece, that stuck with all the buff stuff, military stuff. And then I was a 35-piece band out of Ramstein. About 75% of the time, we were a big band. And I spent a little better than 2 years over there blowing in a big band.
Working your way through the pubs. What's your line?
Well, I fought my way through the beer halls of Germany.
There we go. That's that line I love. Fought his way through the beer halls of Germany. God bless you. after you left the service, you dropped the horn for years
Well,
and years, didn't you?
I got kept,
for the most
I
part.
I got my union card in Chicago and would do some gigging here and there. But I eventually went back to school and got a degree in Bean County.
What I thought.
And eventually moved out here back in 1978. I came out here. I had been a forensic auditor for federal financial institutions in Chicago. And I came out here to save a credit union, save a marriage. I was 50% successful. That credit union did great for years.
And the marriage was doomed.
Well, you said that. And I was a single parent for 8+ years, and my son went off to Northwestern as a bass trombone performance major, which I've been playing bass trombone since '63.
The talking about, the fruit don't fall far from the tree that we experience it. We don't do it by prepping our kids. Our kids see what goes on, and then they make their choices. Luty's kid took up the bass trombone. One of my kids took up the tuba. We don't stand over him with a stick. We stand over him with a horn, and the kids learn to love it. And before you know it, there we are making music with our kids. It's a wonderful thing.
With my son, I just, when he said I asked him what he wanted to do, went to college. He was just he and I. He said, "I want to be a music major." Bass trombone. I went, no, I've been that route. So yeah. I sent him off to Interlochen, figuring he's going to get beat up. He got a scholarship there for the summer. He made the top band and the top orchestra right off the bat. So with that.
And of course, our kids are far better musicians than we are. So each generation gets better, thank God. We're plebeians compared to how our kids play, and that's a good thing. That we can start them off. And I think what it is because of because of our love for the music, that we know we have some ideas about what we can do to help kids get better. And so our kids had advantages at a young age that we didn't. We had blue collar working stiffs,
that's right.
and you're just having enough to eat and trying to stay alive in Detroit and Chicago was itself sometimes a duty. And here our kids are growing up in Missoula, Montana, and it's safe and clean, and we've got them private, so many great things. So the first, and that's why I didn't share the questions with Fred. We've known each other since for a long time. He beat me to the state by 1 year. I came out here in '79. But we've known each other forever, and mostly because of tromboning. But I had forgotten the fact that first date. Hey, now don't get hung up on Europe, because Luety did take the trombones to Germany a couple times, to Europe a couple times, and that's another whole program all by itself. And I opted out of that because I was busy trying to hold a marriage together and raising kids. And one of those. I think one of them worked out okay, raising kids at least. And with the gigs, how about the most? So give a 1 minute lick about the Bones in Germany, the two tours.
We
1 minute, Luety.
1 minute. But anyway, for 1 minute, Gillett's gonna laugh for me for 1 minute. In 1999, Tommy and I were on vacation in Europe touring. We took for a month, and we were in different cities. Our towns, we see these little plazas. She said, "I can see our trombone group performing here. I can see our trombone group performing there." So, starting in 2001 and 2, I began to see if I could line up some performances. And the first time we went to Germany, Austria, we actually did 11 performances. The second, and that was in 2003, and we went again in 2006. At that time, I backed off. We only did 8 performances.
All right, as you're getting older, maturing, and maybe enjoying more sightseeing.
Well, I beat everybody up on 11 jobs the first time. I was in the Air Force Band. Was not unusual for a way tour in Europe to be doing 2 or 3 jobs a day.
Yeah.
Not at all. But I was the old guy, and here these young kids, I was beating them up.
Too much work, not enough fun. Now, how about other gigs that we've done? What are memorable ones?
Well, we just not this past summer, the previous summer, when we thought COVID was all done, I had lined up us performing at 4 different wineries in the Willamette Valley, and plus a church service over there one weekend.
Yes.
So
Yeah, we fought our way through the wineries.
That's right.
In the Willamette Valley, and it was lovely, and it was all outside. So almost, except the church, but for the most part, we were outside trying to be COVID safe. I remember playing out west, Superior or something.
we've performed this out in Superior twice.
Yeah.
There's a fine arts organization in Mineral County that funds performances, and they do it in Superior.
Yeah.
At one of the local churches there.
All right, and we did one up at Sealy Lake. There's another.
Oh, yeah, so that was for the Sealy Swan. There's a arts performance supporting organization there, and we went up there.
They have a concert series.
And we did their concert series. We went up there and performed it at the high school in Sealy Swan, and we also did a master's class for the students, and then we did a Saturday evening performance just locally.
Oh, and then they put us up in poobah houses. You know, oh lordy, I remember staying in a pretty fancy place and getting some fine food.
And we've also been, we did about 8 or 9 years ago, we did St. John's Cathedral in Spokane, that's up on the hill. During the fall through the winter and spring, they have a once a month fine arts series, invited groups or individuals, and we actually went up there and did Sunday afternoon, hour-and-a-half concert for their series a few years ago.
That's right, and I had something else going on that gig, and it's a fluid personnel. But why? So we'll talk about all the personnel. Wait, let's start with the personnel. Why did they do it? Who are they, and why did they do it?
Well, it was you. Why did you show up?
Again, I had a great. Hey, wait! I'm supposed to be in charge of that. The most musical experiences I had in college were with a trombone chorale. As an undergraduate student, we had a trombone chorale of probably, I don't know, 30 of us, all music majors. And even though the trombone teacher wasn't much of a conductor, there were some great players in there. And the sounds of a trombone choir is freaking amazing.
Trombones have, not picking on trumpet players, but trumpet players, trumpet players. Trombones, you have the tenor trombone, you have a large bore tenor trombone. You have the bass trombone, and also we have, my wife Tommy, who's our principal, she plays alto trombone too. So you have many different timbres.
We have an established family of instruments. That makes it wider.
Yeah, it makes it wider. You can do more with it.
Because my best musical experiences in college were that trombone choir, so I just loved the sound. And it occasionally happens, like the other day when we were playing, and you'll hear some of the excerpts. Scott came up. He's also a trombone player, so maybe we'll grab that sucker sometime. A couple of times during rehearsal, maybe something will happen, like get through with a chord and go, yeah, that didn't suck too much. That was almost musical. And it's a great feeling. Why does Tommy do it?
Well, she's been playing trombone since about, I guess, the 6th or 7th grade, and she was a music major, of course. She went to Bowling Green University, graduated magna cum laude. Okay, and she's a very fine trombone player. Sure one of the very best trombone players in the state. Then, of course, we have my son got his master's, a master bass trombone performance major at Northwestern University. Of course, he learned the hard way that he's now the CFO for the third largest health organization in the state of Washington, because he went back, became a CPA, and then eventually got an MBA from the University of Washington.
Because none of us are professional players. We have different professional responsibilities. Most of us are retired by now, but we all enjoy playing trombone.
And then we have Luke Sheldon, who's been with our group forever, and he's done a lot of arranging with us, and he's a computer geek for sure. And then we had Don.
Does he have any musical training?
Not really.
I don't even think he played in college, did he? He took the horn up.
Yeah, he did it in high school.
How did he find out about us?
I'm not sure. I could not tell you. And then we have Don Kieselbeck. Don's a local boy, born and raised, and
he's the most intelligent bike mechanic you'll ever meet.
That's right. He won't.
You like that, don't you, Scotty?
Yeah.
Wait, it's the wrong time of year. I'm sorry. He's the most intelligent ski technician you'll ever meet.
That's right. And then we have, as of late, we've had Lily.
It's another. Lily's
Olson, and she lives over in. Now she lives in Helena. She used to live here. And one time we had Hank Hanford, who was our group for a while. He's out of. He's a music teacher up in Kalispell. And then we had Jim Eversole, who's now gone. He was a retired composition professor from the University of Connecticut, but he also taught bands here. He was director of bands at the university here from about 55 to about 62.
Right after Korean
So
War.
he went back to, went on to Columbia to get his PhD. And let's see, who else who am missing?
The new
John
fellow.
Rose. John Rose.
Oh, okay, John Rose.
John Rose.
He's another local. He's a Hellgate grad.
Hellgate grad, and he does a lot of vocal in addition to playing trombone.
He's got
and
great
we have
ears.
a new member, Brad Ellingson, and Brad is a retired professor from over Carroll College, but he's originally from Missoula.
Yeah, was he a Sentinel grad?
No, he was
also a Hellgate grad.
He was a Hellgate grad.
No.
So
and he's moved back, retired, and joined up with us.
He used to play in the Helena Symphony, and of course, in my later days after I came here to Missoula and I started playing again, I've done 27 shows over the years with MCT. I've played for 6-7 years with the Bozeman Symphony bass trombone. Tommy did about 5 years principal with the Bozeman Symphony, and then I put a year in with the Helena Symphony.
Why do you do it? Why do you do because all the money, all the work, all the grief that we give you, why do you do it?
I went about 10 years without playing trombone. And then when I eventually got back on it, after my son went off to college, I had worked with him, but really got back on the trombone, I realized how much I had missed it. I will never let that happen again as long as I still have a breath left in me. And it's fun, and it's enjoyable. And the trombone players, we're all a group. We have a lot of fun together.
The joke is that, trumpet, though, hold on, it doesn't work this time. One of my previous programs was a trumpet quartet, and they actually play parts, and they've worked it out. That's an anomaly.
Yes.
The joke is that you put all those cornet players together, trumpet players together, and they'd all just play first part. Those gentlemen have figured it out. Trombone players are always looking for somebody else to play the hard high parts. And all of us other folks try to fill in the cracks. There's not that pecking order in the sense of urgency. Well, to play a trumpet, you've got to have an ego because the instrument is so unforgiving. Right. The trombone is a much more forgiving instrument. You can make a mistake and not everyone will know that you suck at that moment. We have somewhere to hide, which is a good thing.
Well, I have to deviate just a second here.
Please.
I will mention the band I was in Europe, okay? And I cannot underemphasize the quality of that big band. When I was watching your MCAT broadcast of
the trumpet quartet, the old
on YouTube,
four guys.
On the YouTube, up in the corner, off to the side of YouTube, they had Buddy Richard in Copenhagen, 1968. Well, I called that up afterwards because I knew who was playing fourth trumpet was Skip Sortwich, who was our lead trumpet player when I was in the band overseas. He got out, and within 4 months, he was blowing fourth trumpet with Buddy Richmond. From there, he went with Woody Herman, lead, and from there, he was Stan Kent for 3 years, lead, and then we blew with Ray Child. He just passed last year, and we were still good buddies. Our lead alto graduated from Juilliard. Our third alto blew with David Rose Orchestra in the 40s and did the studio work, and that was the type of organization I was fortunate to blow in as a young man.
Yeah,
I was much younger than most of the rest of the group.
And the fact that that was your college. That many of us did an undergraduate degree in music of some kind, played and had studio and all that kind of stuff. Your training was through the military, and luckily that you had this. Luckily, you had great bands.
Yeah, I was real fortunate. First of all,
both in high school and the college.
Yeah, I was very fortunate in both cases. Very, very fortunate.
Like, it just shows you what a great band director can do. Who was your band director, Scott? You were a big Sky kid.
Yeah, Leon Slater.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
Well, and Leon, by the way, my son stood up for his wedding, and he stood up for my son's wedding because they went to Northwestern together.
All right, so there's the big family we will.
Yeah, music is a family, and that's what like the Bones are really something like a family.
Yes, and then after rehearsal, Luety knows he needs to do something to entice us besides the music. He's a great cook too, so we have this last time we had the Chicago hot dog. There was an article in today's paper, some hot dog shop in Butte. In the Missoulian today, and the guy makes all kinds of hot dogs, but he tried to even make a Chicago dog. If you're from Chicago, you know about Chicago dogs. Not just Chicago pizza. Chicago dogs.
And they're not called hot dogs in Chicago. They're called Viennas, because that's the only brand of hot dog anybody will eat.
And there's a special way of making it, and in Luety. You buy the whole package back in Chicago.
I have it shipped out from Chicago, from the factory.
And so it's the real deal.
What are you talking about, trombones or what?
No. The food, the dogs. And Fred continues to play on a regular basis. We're both playing in the community band. That's how we communicated about getting together with this. Our concert is next Saturday.
And I do your summer band.
And then he plays in the city band with us oftentimes. And
I do church services.
That's oftentimes, that's it. That's one we missed talking about, that he often hog ties us into his Lutheran church down there, and we do services.
But I've done for the years, for 20 plus years, I've
done
First Presbyterian. Tommy and I have played there, playing Dr. J's music, Donald Johnson.
Oh, did you go to the symphony?
No,
Dr. J was there.
We were just coming out of COVID, so we
Should
thought it
have.
was not
Oh, I went and saw Dr. J.
Okay.
It was his church.
And I've played others. I've done most of the major churches over the years playing trombone.
Sure. And you see yourself continuing until you can't, until you're too freaking old. I mean, he's old. He's been playing longer than I've been alive.
That's true.
But I didn't realize that one. And I ain't no spring chicken, Jack. But you got to keep up on it, right? The one thing you found.
I play 4 or 5 times a week. I have to.
And it's not just because you practice, because if we let it go, it's just so hard to get it back again.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Is it the unresiliency?
These are all muscles. These are all muscles besides right here.
Yeah, I just find that the breaking is as much of a combatant for me to deal with as it is
It's
my
gotten more.
embouchure.
Yeah, back when I was in the big band in the Air Force band, there was charts that I would go. One chart was like that: 12 beeps, pedal F. I have no problem.
And you can sustain that.
I could sustain. I couldn't even begin to think about doing that now.
You can spit the note out, but you ain't going to sustain that, sucker.
No.
Anything else you want to add to our conversation today, Luety? Hey, we've been pretty tame. I don't think we've cursed at all.
Well, in spite of everything.
Because Luety and I bring out the worst in each other. Besides,
Detroit, I'm from Chicago. What do you expect?
there's something we didn't touch on that you'd like to touch on, and don't you be touching me.
I just would like to say I've been very fortunate in my lifetime to been able to play, have the background to be able to play where I've been able to play. And the trombone chorale has, when we went to Europe in 2003, and I had I arranged all 11 jobs, but I never thought when I left Europe in 67, coming back here after the Air Force Band, would I ever be able to get a chance to tour Europe again? And because of the trombone chorale, we've done it twice. And so that's memorable experiences right there. And I've developed a lot of good friendships over the years because of that.
Sure. And your own personal heritage. You're a dang crowd, aren't you?
My background is German, but I've never been to the part of Germany where my family came from because it was in the Eastern Zone. And since I've been back a couple times, now they're beginning, well, last time I was there, housing and lodging was still somewhat a problem, which is no longer. Which
Okay.
I had planned actually going back 2 years ago to look for family, but COVID has, of course,
Sure
not
enough.
made that
And I should have
possible.
known that you're from that eastern side. I got that feeling. Hey, I'm glad you could tune in. And Fred, he was studying up on our trumpet video to make sure he was a good boy and could keep up with us. Hey, we have some more ideas. Sometimes folks mention them to me about other folks to bring in. There's lots of music here in Missoula. Easy for me to say. And they just keep falling into my lap, especially now that COVID is starting to lift. So we have some more buns in the oven, honey. Before you know it, I'll be back. And hey, I'll be back. This is Gary Gillett, Missoula, music in Missoula. And I've had my buddy today, Fred Luety. Take care. Catch you next time.
Ciao.
Choo.
takes a rest.
Yeah.
It's just interesting.
Yeah.
I think we
By
changed
the
the
way,
air pressure.
ever so told me this, that at the end of the